Well, Mr. Leigh Kuhn, president of RynoWorx here, joining us. Judd Burton here from Asphalt Kingdom. I am excited to be here right now. We're going to be going through something that we've been talking about for years. I remember sitting literally in a hotel with you, speaking about one day there's going to be this disruptive air-operated spray system that's going to hit the asphalt maintenance industry that every single seal coating contractor will want as it relates to a compact seal coating rig that can do residential, small commercial, and even medium-sized commercial jobs. And here we are sitting here having the conversation about that very launch right now. Leigh, man, I am excited about this one, buddy. So I gotta first off bring us back to that day of us sitting there. You remember that day sitting at that table having the conversation?
Yeah, man, 100%.
And so it's been years. I mean, how many years has it been since we had that conversation?
Probably 8 or 9, maybe more. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And I remember being like, hey, why don't we just build it and do it then? And you were like, no, we got to just do this slow and steady, slow and steady. Why when you go and you build and you launch new product, why is it important that you do things slow and steady?
So slow and steady is maybe for me, it's not necessarily the right words, but more or less methodical, right? So strategically, think very carefully about what we decide to take on in terms of new product. And everything has to be strategic. There's got to be a reason for it, right? Like if we're going to get into something, it's got to be because we, in the long term, we believe we can be highly successful and bring something different that other people haven't been able to bring. So it's not typical that we enter a market unless we feel that we've got that right synergy.
Right. And the air operated unit that we're speaking about coming up here, this particular air operated unit, we've spoken about air operated units. We have seen them at national pavement expos, at trade shows. We've seen them around, and they certainly are. They seem to be that next step up from a centrifugal operated unit from a reliability perspective. Can you tell us a little bit more about air operated spray systems and why the decision was made to finally make the move on building a prototype and testing it in the market and so on?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I could speak to what made us decide to get into the air operated game. I think that RynoWorx, as you know, serves thousands of new customers a year, like every year. We have a large base of our customers are new to the business, people that are first timers, just getting started, running on a budget, and looking for equipment to sort of get up to that next level. And I think for us, the AirBoss 300 represents sort of an excellent, value and quality based starting point for all these, beginners and sort of guys that are looking to kind of take their business to the next level, beyond say a squeegee or, a couple $1,000 barrel sprayer or whatever it might be, into a professional unit that can do large jobs reliably. And that's sort of what made us decide, why start with the AirBoss 300. And, without spoiling too much, I mean, this is the beginning for us. There's going to be lots more coming in the future. But we believe on building on that foundation. So, to answer your question, why get into that game? It's important for us to serve the customers that we deal with first, make sure that we're building for that base, and really paving the way for them to be successful with graduated equipment choices. So super excited about the AirBoss 300 kind of being the starting point for our journey into air operated systems.
Love the name too, AirBoss 300 gallon air operated spray system. It's absolutely awesome. Did you choose the AirBoss name?
Yeah, we spent some time on that. Nothing crazy with that name, but it just fit. It looked good with a RynoWorx sign on it, and we're sticking to it.
It's going to definitely be the boss as it relates to the 300-gallon rigs for sure. There are so many air-operated spray rigs that are out there in the marketplace. What is the main difference with this particular unit as it relates to its complete creation, its build, as well as its price point?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's combination of features. So, with AirOp, there's a lot of different players in the market that build systems. Anything from a small fabrication shop with no label on it, up to your bigger players like a Sealrite, or Neil, or any of those other big companies that have done a really good job. I think what makes this unit unique is it's the combination of features, and ultimately it's the value that's built into the product. So, ultimately what matters with these units is they have to be built rugged. So we have a we have a thick, solid steel tank, very strong agitation system. It's built on a solid chassis. So what makes that kind of nice is that chassis is designed to fit in anything from a short box to a long box pickup truck. It fits between the wheel wells. It's liftable using a forklift from all four sides. So if you put it on a flatbed or under a pickup or a trailer, you're going to have an easy way to navigate onto that. We built a new custom basket strainer. It has more surface area of filtration than the standard 3-gallon round filters that you find on a Sealrite unit or anything else out there. So that's kind of cool. So 3-gallon filter actually filters better, 30% more filter coverage out of that than other industry players. The unit's compact, so we're not wasting space. So it's not sprawled all over the place. Everything is thought about, as to where it goes. Our hose reel is positioned above the pumping equipment. Items have been made serviceable. The hose reels to the curbside. So for anybody that's ever done residential jobs, they understand that when they get out of a truck, they park at the curb. It's easy to be able to make sure that your controls for the pump and for the hose reel are at the side of the road where you're not going to get hit by traffic, right? So small things like that. We made our manway super large so that it's easy to clean out. Anyone that works with these machines knows at the end of the season, cleaning can be difficult. And yeah, having that large oversized manway where you can actually step inside makes it a heck of a lot easier to clean. So, those are some of the key features. I think the other thing I would say is that RynoWorx is one of the few businesses that believes in engineered components. So you may not notice this so much, without going up close to our machines and comparing it to somebody else's, but you'll go to another machine and you'll see that they're using a lot of random pipe fittings and duct tape, right? Where we're actually looking at how these things go together. We're thinking about the time to service it, the time to be able to connect and do things. We're using quick connect fittings instead of plugs. We're trying to make things serviceable with your hands, not with any set of tools. So it's just those small details that go into the engineering, I think, that make a big difference on this product.
I love the fact that I can hear the kiddos in the background and, working from home and taking the time out of your busy schedule, man, to do this. It makes my heart sing. The Kohler engine, tell us a little bit about, it's the first time that RynoWorx has chosen to use the Kohler engine. Tell us why Kohler?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Certainly there's a lot of Honda diehards out there. And understandably, Honda's got a great reputation. But I think when it comes to, these systems, it's a combination of quality and value. And in my view, Kohler, delivers, at 98 to 99% of Honda's effectiveness, but at a much better price. And it makes a difference at retail. You're talking about, when you look at these components, you're talking about hundreds or thousands of dollars at the end of a retail price tag when you make these decisions. So in my view, Kohler's an exceptional engine. I think it's arguably got a track record that is shorter, but equally as good as Honda's. And again, you just get greater value, out of that product.
Right on. Thank you. And in regards to the recirculation on this machine, I know, it was speaking with thousands of people starting their own business, as well as contractors in the industry. Recirculation and agitation of the sealer inside of the unit is something that is so crucial to make sure that you have a proper application of your sealer that's mixed and steady. Can you tell us a little bit about the recirculation and the agitation of this machine and how it was designed?
Yeah, so the unit has a 3-to-1 reduction in a manual agitation. That's intended to get the unit started in the morning. So, when you fire up your machine, it's been sitting for a couple days. You're giving it a couple cranks to get your settlement off the bottom. but it's not intended that you're sitting there for hours and turning a paddle, right? It's meant for maybe somewhere between 60 and 120 seconds. You're turning it over, getting that sealer moving. The recirculation was added, which isn't a feature that is common on a lot of machines,
Right.
but it's one that we felt was important because in the absence of hydraulic agitation, you do need a way to periodically circulate your material and
Yeah.
keep your sand and material mixed. And, in our view, the paddles are there for when you need to use them, when you've got a heavy settlement. But ideally, most times during the day after you've sort of fired up the unit and used it for the first time, you're able to just use that recirculation mode for a few minutes, before each job, to avoid kind of having to hand crank, every time you need to mix sealer. So that's sort of the logic behind why we put it in there. Another thing I would say is this unit is equipped and made ready for a future hydraulic bolt-on. So it's not something that we've added again. I mean, when you look at hydraulics from the starting point, you're easily adding a couple $1,000s to the retail tag on one of these machines. But our view is that, guys that can get a starting point, they can finance this equipment, they can stomach the bill. Maybe after 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, they decide they want to make that investment. Then there's always the option of, bolting on a separate hydraulic assembly, at that time to drive the agitation.
Got it. And from an agitation perspective, you're moving sealer inside the unit, keeping it mixed. So what kind of sealer is this unit really designed for?
Yeah, pretty well all sealers. So anything, any asphalt emulsion, coal tar or blends or hybrids. There's no sealer that this unit can't spray. So yeah, anything water, water based. Yeah.
That's great news. And what about sand loads? Can sand go in this particular unit?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this unit's built specifically for that, from the 1.5-inch pump to the full sweep paddles that are on the agitation that are meant to scrape the tank and really do a good job at mixing sand. That's one thing to note. I mean, when you look, if you're shopping on a unit in the market, you'll notice a lot of units cut corners when it comes to agitation. They'll have a thinner shaft. It won't be hydraulic ready. And one of the most common ones is they use a rake mechanism that doesn't actually scrape the tank, as opposed to paddles. And for anybody that's worked this industry, they understand that raking agitation doesn't really do much. It's better than nothing, but it isn't optimal when it comes to mixing your product. And those scraper paddles really keep your tank clean, so that when you get to the end of the year and you're having to do a clean out, you don't have large gobs of material building up in your tank that are plugging your filter and kind of making your life a little bit of hell towards the end of the season or when you start the next one.
Yeah, the paddles actually scrape the outer part of the tank, and then it pours any kind of the sand and sealer towards the middle, right? It moves it towards the middle of the tank, suspends it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And in regards to the actual painting of the 300 AirBoss, that particular unit is not painted.
Yeah, so that's another difference. We powder coat as opposed to painting. It provides a much more consistent finish on the actual unit, and the actual durability of powder coat is substantially stronger than paint. So, the best way I could describe it is, I mean, if you key a powder coat or you key a vehicle or regular paint, you're going to get bare metal on one and you're going to get a scuff on the other. Powder coating is just far better at protecting the metal. And that matters when it comes to making sure that you don't wind up with rust, corrosion, or exposed welds, things like that.
Fantastic. And so a lot more durable that way, less chance of pitting, rust pits, and then leakage potentially in the future.
Yep.
That's great. That's great stuff. What sort of vehicle do you need to really, hold this unit? A lot of people are shopping out there and they say, well, I need a 1-ton truck, but the 1-ton truck, of course, I believe only holds 2,000 pounds, so it wouldn't be ideal. Can you tell us a little bit about the right kind of vehicle for this, or trailer for this particular rig?
Yes, I mean, it's designed for a 3/4 ton 1-ton pickup or a flatbed. That being said, if you're running a standard suspension on your 3/4 ton, or 1-ton, you're, to really support a full weight load on this, you're going to have to increase your suspension. You're going to have to visit a suspension shop and potentially just add some additional leaf springs onto the back of your truck. So that's one option. 3/4 or 1-ton. Flatbed is another option. You can load and strap this down onto any flat deck. Again, the same weight things kind of apply. And then your other option, which I think is, another good one, is source a trailer, right? There's tons of trailer manufacturers that make trailers of all kinds. One nice thing about, sourcing a trailer is, or if maybe you've already got one, you've got something that maybe fits your business well, that can be multi-purpose, that can handle this unit as well as some of your other equipment. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of your third option is, use a trailer. And as you know, the benefits of trailer too are you don't need a 3/4 ton truck to pull it. I mean, you can go to your F-150 or, any of your other trucks that can handle that sort of a weight load and easily tow this behind like a 1/2 ton truck.
Right on. Now, from an operating perspective, the actual operating system, the compressor and the actual dual diaphragm pump, can you talk to us about, the rugged quality for the compressor as well as the pump, and explain to whoever's watching this that you guys have really chosen something to be durable?
Sure. So I mean, the compressor is obviously, the foundation of the unit, and if you don't have a good compressor, nothing else works. So we've gone with a twin tank, Kohler driven compressor. The compressor itself is a single stage 2-piston setup. That 2-piston setup's nice because it takes a little bit of pressure off running a single piston. It has a sort of a pressure relief valve, so that when that unit's basically running and you've taken a break or whatever else, or moved away from your unit, when that hits basically max capacity on the tanks, it'll automatically decompress the pressure within the pistons, which is sort of a lifesaver in terms of your compressor. You don't want that thing running and burning out, because you took your guy's taking a smoke break and this thing's working overtime. So that's one of the nice features about that unit. The compressors themselves, the compressor itself is solid cast iron. It's built, to take, thousands of hours of use if properly maintained. Good oil capacity. And then as far as outputs, it's got 2 outputs. So it's got an output that'll run your pump that's dedicated. And then it's got an auxiliary output that if you want to connect your own air hose to for, using the compressor, for other purposes, you've got that option as well. So that's kind of the compressor features. The pump is a 1.5-inch dual diaphragm. It's a RynoWorx branded pump. So we've had these pumps made for what we do. It's got Santoprene seals, which are super, super durable as it relates to coal tar or emulsion, sealants that are running through them. And it's exceptionally good at dealing with high sand loads. So, there's almost nothing you can't put through this pump. It's bulletproof as it relates to the product that you throw through it, which is awesome. And it's got ample power to power, larger tips, anywhere from a 2 to a 3-4 gallon tip with heavy sand loads. So yeah, I guess I would add to that, we've also got an adjustable surge tank, which a lot of people kind of question, what's a surge tank do? Well, surge tank essentially controls your pressure stability. So if you've ever sprayed with any sort of a diaphragm pump, the way that a diaphragm pump makes pressure is it has diaphragms inside that pulsate. And what happens is you wind up with inconsistent pulsating pressure at the end of your tip if you don't have any sort of a positive air pressure against that line. So what a surge tank does, and you'll see a similar thing in your house if you go to the bottom of your house on your water system, the surge tank takes those pulsations that are created in the pump and it applies positive pressure to that line. which forces ultimate stability. So it takes all of those wide pulsations out of your spray and provides a very nice constant, spray fan that provides a beautiful result on the job. So and the other thing is that's adjustable. So we've got a lot of surge tanks you'll see that are on spray systems are sort of hacked together, welded, random, tanks that are built, by a fab shop. These are engineered bottles that are meant to take pressure anywhere from 40 to 145 pounds of pressure. It just means that if you're a real finesse freak that likes to control the quality of your job and you do not like, any discrepancies in your spray fan, you can adjust that pressure to get yourself an optimal result.
That's incredible. What's the best way to clean out the filter on this rig? And I believe there's some innovation around there too.
Yeah, so I think I talked earlier about our basket strainer having 30% higher filtration ability than other 3-gallon units. And that's just because of the way we've designed the filter basket and the holes. We've got a lot less wasted space between them, which provides greater filtration and ultimately better flow. So what it really means is you have to clean it 30% less than an equal 3-gallon unit that's in the market, which is really, really nice. But as far as how to clean it, if you look at other basket strainers, they'll have, typically it's the same design, 6 or 8, adjustable knobs. Our unit's designed with 4 quick release latches. So as far as speed, you're not sitting there and twisting and turning. It's boom, 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 boom. Literally 5 seconds, you've delatched your lid versus what could take you 3 to 4 minutes, by the time you unscrew all those other ones and have to kind of muck with them, especially if they get caked with sealer and stuff like that. So that's kind of one unique part about that strainer. And yeah, I mean, the strainer is also, you're able to load sealer from our strainer as well. So we have a loading port coming off the strainer that if you want to draw sealer in from a barrel or a tote, or if you just want to draw sealer from another tank you're not using, we offer a connector kit for that you can, connect to that port and simply draw sealer through the filter. And that way you're filtering material going into your tank. You don't have to worry about, getting caked on bits of crap when you're loading sealer.
So in other words, people who own this machine, they could literally go to a job site, a big commercial job site that might require more sealer than what the tank load has, and they could have totes or drums at that job site and transfer that over as needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It also allows you, if you want to do a bypass mode of the tank, where you can actually just spray sealer directly from the tote. So, I mean, if you've got an extra tote sitting on your trailer, you run your connector, and now what's happening is you're just drawing sealer from your tote. It's running through your filter, and you can go directly to your sprayer if you don't even want to load your tank.
Isn't that incredible? Let's walk through the process of the time that you arrive back with your AirBoss 300, which is your beautiful 300-gallon rig. I'm so excited to start seeing pictures of clients with them and videos. So super excited to see this. I know 2 are already gone. They're already sold, but now we're going into the units are out and in the field operating, and half a tank is left in the tank of sealer, and now we're coming back to our place of business and we're storing our unit. Is there anything I need to do now when I get back to my shop with half a tank of sealer at the end of the day?
Yeah, good question. I mean, not really. There's not a lot of there isn't really a hard procedure with these units. As I said, the pumps are extremely capable at spraying even partially separated, solids from liquids. So settled material isn't really a huge problem for them. But ultimately, it comes down to cleaning out your tip, making sure that you've got that covered up so it doesn't dry up. I would say it's more startup procedure than shutdown procedure. So when you're starting up, I think it's obviously very important to give a couple of cranks to make sure you move any of the settled stuff at the bottom. And then, fire up your tank and start it in fire up your unit and run it in recirculation mode. make sure
Yeah,
that you've got good steady recirculation. What that does is that sort of pulls out all of the congestion that's in those lines and get you ready for good application. So I think those are really the only two things to note. But other than that, it's a pretty low maintenance unit. There's not a lot to really worry about on startup or shutdown, which is nice, right? That's what you want in business.
for sure. Another pro tip that I'd add is, no matter what spray rig you're working with, a good thing is when you're starting out before a job is just have your spray gun, the tip inside the top of your tank to make sure that there's no blockage, make sure that there's nice flow, and that'll spray right back into your tank. Once it's nice and clean, you're good to go and you start to do your job, right? So that's, well, man, oh man, Leigh, you've thought of everything over at RynoWorx to really develop a professional AirBoss 300 seal coat rig, and I cannot wait for this thing to reach the market. Now, on the first production line that you're doing right here, is there a limited number of units that you are building right now?
Yeah, so we're equipped to build and kind of launch our first 50 units this spring. But from dealing with us, Judd, and anyone else that deals with RynoWorx knows that we are very bold and keen on stocking what we make. We're not big on lead times. When you need a piece of equipment, in the next couple of days, we want to be able to be the ones to get it to you. So rest assured, with those startup units, yeah, we've got lots there, but regardless of how quickly those go, we're going to make sure that we keep these units, in stock to be able to provide people with what they need when they need it.
So if the AirBoss 300 is at your warehouse and it's built and ready to ship, generally how long is it to ship? And I know that can range depending on where you are in North America, but
Yeah, good question.
in range.
We're located, our warehouse is located, geographically Ontario. So we're an hour from either New York or Michigan. So US Northeast is pretty quick, getting to Michigan, Illinois, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, any of kind of the major US Northeast states. We're talking normally anywhere from a 2 to 3 day turnaround. And if we go to some of the, as we go west of the Mississippi and say more south towards Florida, New Orleans, and the Carolinas, it might be 3 to 5 days in those zones.
And as somebody, our company has been, of course, very close with RynoWorx, and we love to sell RynoWorx because of the level of support, the service, the speedy shipping times, the quality, and always looking to improve and progress. You don't just build something and you don't listen. You always listen to feedback, and that's something that's been so important through this process. So anybody who's considering getting into the seal coating business that has a budget to be able to start with a professional rig right out of the gate, this would be the rig that I certainly would recommend. And anybody who's got, one of the AK-130s or 230s that's been out in the field and a year or two in the business, this is a perfect unit to evolve to and really grow and scale your business. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, 100%. And I guess one other thing to add to that, Judd, too, is when you're getting into a piece of equipment that you're spending several $1,000s on, anybody that's been in this business knows that equipment needs maintenance. It requires parts. There's periodic service that you've got to go through, and I think that's an area that that we've done a good job at. We have next day delivery options on pretty much all parts. We're heavy on stocking parts. And although we may not be perfect, no manufacturers are. We work really hard to make sure that we, get parts to customers that need them as quickly as possible when they need them, and to provide that level of support, throughout the ownership journey. So, I think that's something to keep in mind. I mean, if you're contemplating buying a rig from a fab shop as opposed to us, I'd say that's a strong point, and anyone that's dealt with us for service knows, what we provide and knows that we care. And, even though we're far from perfect, we do constantly try to improve. We listen to feedback, and we will not leave you hanging, when it relates to the needs for servicing your equipment.
So a lot of the time we have people who call us up who are interested in the AK230 Pro unit, centrifugal operated unit, and they might be on the fence about spending or investing the additional money into the AirBoss 300. Can you tell us why somebody would want to invest some more money into upgrading to that AirBoss 300?
Yeah, so I guess there's several reasons, but I'll start with the easiest one. Speed of application. You're applying sealer at a much higher pressure and at much higher flow rates. So the speed at which you can complete a job in less than half the time with the AirBoss 300 than a 230. I would also say that the manual agitation, the ability to add sand to your jobs. If you're doing large commercial jobs regularly, getting up to 20, 30,000 square foot parking lots that require sand as a part of the contract, the AirBoss allows you to do that. The 230, does not. I think that serviceability and service intervals, the amount of startup time and shutdown time required on a 230 as opposed to an AirBoss is very different. So, you're sort of going from something that's more high maintenance, requires a higher degree of skill to run, to something that's far easier to own and to operate, and that requires very little ongoing maintenance. It's sort of just fire it up and spray. That's just sort of the key differences. So I guess it really comes down to, I would say the big one for me is time, especially now with labor rising, the costs going up. You want to control what you spend on a job site. If you're spraying 30,000 square feet and you can do it in, half the time, that means you can double your money, right? So as far as the upgrade and cost, a few $1,000s may look steep, but it doesn't take very much to recover that in terms of labor savings over the course of a week or two, right, of a crew.
Investing into your business is key. Don't see that additional price as costing or you're losing that money. You're actually investing in your business. The other thing that I got to add here is that the price point is something that I've never seen something priced at this level for the level of quality, the actual level of support that you get, the actual unit, the AirBoss 300, for the price that it's listed for, is really a market disruptor as well. And I certainly know that you're a king when it comes to sourcing. I know that you're definitely, when it comes to engineering, you've got your team there. And then to be able to handle the whole fulfillment side of it, the logistics and everything, you're also extremely professional in that area as well. So this seems to be like an absolute win for everybody at the table. It seems like an opportunity for people to maximize their business. If you're looking for a professional spray rig, this is the one I certainly would be picking. It's one that I would definitely recommend to my family, to my friends, and to anybody who's started their business with us, looking to scale and grow it, or anybody that's looking to get into it. And for professional seal coaters out there that have, your 550, 700 gallon, 1,000 gallon rigs, those are all awesome. But you may not need that big, huge rig to go do a smaller job. And this could be a nice compact rig for you as well. So let's definitely look at all the details around this AirBoss 300, and let's make a decision together to really progress your business and make things really thrive. Leigh, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. And we are looking forward to definitely getting these AirBoss 300s and putting them out there like a boss.
No, thanks for the time. And I'm so excited to see these come to market, and also super excited to hear the feedback from everybody that gets a chance to own and use one.
Excellent. Well, you heard it from Leigh. First production is 50 units. So let's get them ordered up and let's get rocking. Pre-orders are on just about now.
Thanks, Judd.